Hello everyone, welcome to Cycle, a program focused on Mongolian business and economy. My name is Batsir Namshir. The 5th annual meeting of Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank was held on July the 28th. The Speaker of the Parliament, Tavantolgoi-Gashuunsukhait, became familiarized with the construction progress of the Townhouse-Gashuunsukhait Railroad. The Minister of Food, Agriculture and Light Industry, became acquainted with the operations of the complex of the National Center for Livestock Gene Bank and the Institute of the Plant and Agricultural Science in Darhan City. According to the report, the average price of a sheep was 186,000 MNT or $65 and the average price of a goat was 126,000 MNT or $44. In the first half of 2020, 738,000 passengers have crossed the border of Mongolia and 378,000 passengers entered Mongolia. The 5th annual meeting of Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank was held on July the 28th. The Minister of Finance, Kurulbaro, took part in the meeting representing Mongolia. The meeting, where the delegates from 82 countries convened virtually, was opened with the address delivered by the President of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping. He said, in the face of COVID-19, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank has moved promptly to set up a COVID-19 crisis recovery facility to support its members in the containing the virus and reviving their economies. This is a typical example of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank's power of action. The global response to COVID-19 has made it clear that mankind rises and falls together in a community with a shared future. To address issues emerging in the course of economic globalization, countries should pursue more inclusive global governance, more effective multilateral institutions, and more robust regional cooperation. Originally planned to be held in person, the virtual annual meeting was the first for Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank and is in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Participants in the meeting had a discussion on the current state of macroeconomics in Asia and the support and assistance provided by the bank to the member countries in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the bank's medium and long-term action plans. The Board of Governors of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank announced that its 6th annual meeting will be held in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, on October the 27th, 2021. This is the first time the AIIB will convene its annual meeting in the Middle East. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank is a multilateral development bank with a mission to improve social and economic outcomes in Asia. Mongolia is one of the 52 founding countries of the bank. Since its establishment in 2016, AIIB has grown to 103 members from around the world. During his working trip to Umrah province, the Speaker of the Parliament, Tavantolgoi-Gashuunsukhait, became familiarized with the construction progress of the Tavantolgoi-Gashuunsukhait Railroad. Construction of the 244-kilometer stretch of railroad from the Tavantolgoi deposit to Gashuunsukhait port is now underway. The Tavantolgoi-Gashuunsukhait Railroad is on schedule to launch its operations in 2022. With the railway operational, around 30 million tons of coal will be exported. Currently, nearly 94% of the railroad's construction work is completed. This is a broad gauge railroad with an axle load of 25 tons and a load capacity of 30 million tons. However, a technical and economical feasibility study shows that the load capacity can be increased by up to 50 million tons. More than 300 engineering and technical staff, over 1,700 workers are working in this project. As you can see, our workers are realizing and creating what they imagined while they were working at Ulaanbaatar Railways, and it drives every worker's activity. Since it's been unable to import some necessary equipment and machinery due to the pandemic, Mongolian engineers are building and operating some of the required equipment for building railroads by themselves. Praising their efforts, Speaker Zandon Shatter congratulated the Tavantolgoi Railroad construction team on using and making the COVID-19 situation an opportunity. Currently, Mongolia spends $32 per ton on the transportation of coal by truck. With the launch of the railroad from the Tavantolgoi deposit to Gashuunsukhait port, freight transport will only cost $8 per ton, bringing costs down by $24. On July the 29th, Minister of Food, Agriculture and Light Industry Min Tsekng met with the delegation of the Asian Development Bank, headed by the country director for Mongolia, Ravit Ramachandran. Mr. Ravit Ramachandran emphasized that the agricultural sector is a promising sector to diversify the Mongolian economy and raise employment and income. He continued, AIIB has implemented several projects in the food, agriculture and light industry sectors of Mongolia. In the coming years, we plan to focus on supporting small local businesses and introducing climate-resistant livestock and scientific advances into herders' lives. After noting the government of Mongolia's efforts on the production of value-added products in the agricultural sector and agricultural commercialization, Minister Tsekng expressed his intention to intensify cooperation with AIIB and support the further development of industrial parks, the supply of agricultural raw materials, and the establishment of a storage and protection system. On July the 28th, the Minister of Food, Agriculture and Light Industry Min Tsekng became acquainted with the operations of the complex of the National Center for Livestock Gene Bank and the Institute of Plant and Agricultural Science in Darkhan City. During the working visit, the specialists requested the minister to give more significance to the professional development of the staff, the renewal of equipment at the institute, and the requirement of additional staff members at the Gene Bank complex. Minister Tsekng also became acquainted with the construction work progress for the leather and hide processing complex in Darkhan City. The complex is especially significant in diversifying the economy of Mongolia, creating more economy pillars and job opportunities, highlighted the minister. He then expressed that he will focus on resolving any further issues that may surface during the construction. With the establishment of the complex, it will directly create 2,300 jobs in the light industry sector and an estimated number of 5,000 jobs in the service sector. Factories that will be running their operations in the framework of the complex will have the annual capacity to process 10 million leather and hide and wash and comb 10,000 tons of wool and cashmere. According to the report on the average market price of livestock in June 2020, the average price of a castrated camel was at 1.1 million MNT or $387. Cattle was 1.1 million MNT or $387. A gelding was 886,000 MNT or $312. The average price of a sheep was 186,000 MNT or $65, and the average price of a goat was 126,000 MNT or $44. According to the report, the highest average price of a sheep was in Darkhan province at 233,000 MNT or $82, whereas the lowest was in Darkhan province at 143,000 MNT or $50. From expected 31 million of dam livestock at the end of 2019, 23.7 million or 76.5% bred offspring at the national level. From the total offspring, 95% or 22 million heads have survived, which decreased by 45,000 heads or 0.2% compared to the same period of the previous year. The natural losses of adult livestock reached 1.3 million heads in the first half of 2020, increased by 573,000 heads. Of the total losses of adult animals, 2.7% was lost due to diseases, 8.1% due to natural disasters, and 89% due to other reasons such as wild animal depredation, such as wolves, bears and leopards, falls through the ice, hunger and chill, etc. In the first half of 2020, 738,000 passengers have crossed the border of Mongolia and 378,000 passengers entered Mongolia. Due to the global outbreak of COVID-19, Mongolian border crossing began to close from February 1st, 2020. In April of this year, 1,063 Mongolian citizens arrived at the airport. 349 citizens arrived through road and railway ports. In May, 1,368 Mongolian citizens arrived on special duty flights and 999 citizens arrived through road and railway ports. In June, 2,352 Mongolian citizens arrived on special duty flights and 6 citizens arrived through road and railway ports. In the first half of 2020, 48.7 thousand foreign passengers have entered, decreased by 198.6 thousand or 80.3% compared to the previous year. By the purpose of entry of the foreign passengers, 43.8 thousand or 89.9% entered for tourism purposes and 4.9 thousand or 10.1% entered for business, study and permanent resident purposes. In the first half of 2020, the number of tourists from China decreased by 61,137 or 87.6%. Tourists from Russian Federation decreased by 36,000 or 62%. Tourists from South Korea decreased by 23,000 or 83%, and tourists from the United States of America decreased by 6,900 or 88% compared with the same period of the previous year. The tourism industry is facing a difficult challenge this year. They lost this year's income and have to wait for another year. Travel companies are making changes to the management system to attract more domestic tourists. In the second quarter of 2020, 3.9 thousand foreign workers from 92 foreign countries were employed with a labor contract in Mongolia, including persons in employment work for pay or profit and persons in volunteer work without pay or profit. From all foreign workers in Mongolia, 34.5% is from China, 8% is from Russian Federation, 7.3% is from Australia, 6% is from South Korea, 5% is from the United States, 4.9% is from Vietnam, 3.9% is from South Africa, 3.8% is from the Philippines, 2.8% is from Great Britain, 2.8% is from Canada, and remaining 20.9% is from other countries. Out of total foreign workers in the second quarter of 2020, 1.5 thousand foreign workers, or 40%, are working in mining and quarry sector. 846 foreign workers, or 21.8%, are working in the education sector. 606 workers, or 15%, are working in wholesale and retail trade, repair or motor vehicles and motorcycles. Now let's take a look at international news from our partner agencies. President Donald Trump visited a fracking hub on the West Texas Plains on Wednesday to sign 4 critical permits granting approval to vital pipeline and railway infrastructure on the nation's border. My administration is announcing today that export authorizations for American liquefied natural gas can now be extended through the year 2050, said Trump.
To ensure we maintain this dominant position long into the future, we will never lose this position. My administration is announcing today that export authorizations for American liquefied natural gas can now be extended through the year 2050. Today, I'm taking another bold action to support energy jobs in Texas. In a few moments, I will sign 4 critical permits granting approval to vital pipeline and railway infrastructure on our nation's border. That's a big deal. This will include 2 permits allowing the export of Texas crude to Mexico, a giant victory for the workers of the state that you've been after for many years.
World Trade Organization members established a dispute panel to consider and rule on a complaint by South Korea against Japanese export restrictions on key components for items like South Korean semiconductors and mobile phone and television displays. Following a meeting about the matter last Wednesday, Katsura Nagai, a minister of the Japanese diplomatic mission in Geneva, said that Japan would proceed and go along with the procedures set by the World Trade Organization.
A panel has been established in Korea's claim, and we will proceed and go along with the procedures in accordance with the WTO agreement, particularly the dispute settlement understanding.
The economic devastation caused by the coronavirus has forced many businesses in the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro to close, and those living there are no longer able to participate in the traditional everyday pleasures they used to enjoy before the pandemic. Such things as buying a costume for Carnival, having a coffee or purchasing cigars have become that little bit more difficult for Brazilians living in Rio. Many shops suffered catastrophic loss of business after being forced to close as part of virus lockdown measures, and some were unable to reopen at all. Deborah Simao ran a perfume shop, which was forced to close, leaving Simao and 3 other people without jobs.
Não pudemos continuar.
Business was less brisk than expected at animal markets in the Ivory Coast last week, where people were buying sheep to slaughter for the Eid al-Adha feast. Traders in the capital said customers had less money to spend because of the virus. Burkina, Mali, Niger, that's where we buy the sheep and bring them here to Abidjan. Over there, it's expensive. So when we get here and the buyers say the sheep are expensive. Well, that's all for Cycle. Thank you for watching and see you next time.